What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Busy Life Podcast. My name is Julie, and today we're going to be talking about how to prevent burnout. This was a pretty important episode that I wanted to do with you guys today because, as you know, school is starting back up. It's almost fall, and people are going back to college. Maybe they're starting a new job. Teachers are getting ready to meet their new students. And as a teacher, there is a lot of burnout that happens. There's just so much pressure to meet your needs, meet your students' needs, help your coworkers. I mean, it's hard. And you never know what every day is going to bring. And I know that's just life too, but it's especially true with teaching. You never know what the kids are going to come in feeling like. You never know if, quite honestly, if they got food, if they slept well, if they got in a fight with their parents in the morning. I mean, you never know what you're walking into. There's days that my kids come in and we had the best day and everything went according to plan. And then there's days when my kids come in and I'm in a great mood and they can't match it and they can't regulate themselves. And we have to make sure that as adults, we are regulating ourselves so that we can regulate the kids. So with that, sometimes there's just so many fires that happen at work and it's just really hard to manage it all, quite honestly. So a lot of teachers experience burnout. And I can speak, I think, on every single teacher's behalf. I've been a teacher now for 7 years. Was a classroom teacher for 3 years. I taught second grade. And I'm going into my 4th year of being a special ed teacher. This year, I'm working with kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. So that in itself gives me a little bit of anxiety. And there's just a lot to manage, a lot to balance. And it's globally known that teachers have a very hard job. And this is not to take away from any other job out there. I think every job in itself has its challenges. I know every job in itself has its challenges and also its perks too. But I would be lying if I didn't acknowledge the fact that I do have a little bit of anxiety going into this school year. I think a lot of teachers always have beginning of the year anxiety just because they never know what's going to happen. They never know what their group is going to look like. I mean, all you get is a piece of paper with some names. Sometimes you know what the kids are like because maybe their previous teacher can tell you a little bit about them. Sometimes if you're like a kindergarten teacher, for example, and if you don't have like a pre-K or Head Start program, you literally have no idea who they are. I mean, there's also the fact that maybe there's a kid that was a pure terror to their previous teacher, but then you get them and they're actually the coolest kid you've ever met. So there's just so much unknown, and every year comes with that. But I want to normalize it, and I want to talk about what we can do to prevent burnout. I know we all, and I'm speaking to all my teachers, and I'm speaking to anybody that's got a job on their plate that is a lot to carry, that they weren't prepared for, or they've been doing it for a while, or they don't like it. I mean, whatever it is, your job is going to come with phases that make you stressed and make you overwhelmed, and you could potentially experience burnout. It's totally normal to experience burnout. It really, in my opinion, just means you're working hard too much. But I've got the research here. Y'all know I've got the research, and I've got some tips, tools, and tricks that we can be using to help us, because this is a doing podcast, not just a listening podcast. Mel Robbins says that all the time. Shout out to Mel Robbins. I am one of her biggest fans. But she's right. We can't just listen and be like, oh, that must be nice. We actually have to do something about it. So I want to talk about burnout. I want to talk about the symptoms, because some of you might be like, what are you talking about? What is burnout? I am assuming that burnout is a pretty well-known term, but I'm also assuming. So you may be listening to this episode and being like, what is she talking about? So let's just jump right into it. According to Very Well Minds, burnout isn't a diagnosable psychological disorder, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be taken seriously. Burnout symptoms can affect your body both physically and mentally. And burnout itself is just a reaction to prolonged or chronic job stress. So, again, this is about our job. It's characterized by three main dimensions: exhaustions, cynicism. So, more like, I just don't want to do this job and I'm not associating with it. I know for teachers that looks like just putting a movie on because they just can't and they're just so done. And that is so widely felt. And I get that. And feelings of reduced professional ability. Maybe at the beginning of the year, there's all those memes and videos of like what a teacher feels like on Monday and she's feeling great. And then on Tuesday, they come in and they're just like, meh. Wednesday is like, oh Lord, it's only Wednesday. Thursday, they're dying. And Friday, they're like, oh, thank God. So yeah, it happens. The reduced professional ability, I feel on a personal level. Shout out to our principal though for totally understanding. But more simply put, if you feel exhausted, you start to hate your job and begin to feel less capable at work, you are 100% showing signs of burnout. A lot of people spend the majority of their waking hours at work. We actually just became aware of that at work today. I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but we actually, when we were at work today, our counselor said to us, you got to realize that here at school, you spend more time with these kids than they spend with their own families. And I honestly just had to think about that for a second. I mean, but they're not wrong, Monday, all day. Tuesday, all day. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all day. I am with these people. I have so much ability on them, right? I mean, does that make sense? I have the power to encourage them, to uplift them, to I get to be with them for that long. And they get to be with me for that long. And I just can't afford to be burnt out. I will 100% get stressed. There will be times this year that I'm overwhelmed and that I will maybe cry or get angry, and that's okay. But to be burnt out is just too much. And we want to minimize this as often as possible. So, if you really do hate your job, you dread going to work, and you have absolutely no satisfaction from what you're doing, it's obviously going to take a toll on your life. And this toll shows up through burnout. Some things that you can do are having open discussions about your work problems with your coworkers. I know for me and my team and I get along so well. We we joke that we're like the Spice Girls. Each of us is so different, but we come together and we genuinely are such a strong team. And I would say, I don't know how the other teams view themselves, but the special ed team at my school 100% enjoys each other. We definitely bicker and we argue and we debate about things, but at the end of the day, if one of us needed, to get picked up because their car broke down, or needed to get to school because this happened, or they needed food because they forgot their lunch, I mean, we would literally do anything for each other. So with that comes good communication skills. We definitely talk about our problems. We also talk to our supervisor, we talk to our principal, talk to your boss, talk to your coworkers, guys. Let them know how you're feeling. I know Ryan the other day was saying that he gets overwhelmed at work sometimes because there's people who take off like a lot of leave, and then they get sick or they come in sick, and there's like the same few people that keep doing this, and he'll make jokes like, how do they have this much leave? But it bothers him because it's not that they're taking leave, it's just that they're leaving him all of this work to do. So not only does he have his work he has to do, but now he has to do his coworkers' work because they're on like a project together and they have a deadline. and it's inconsiderate. Step one is to discuss these problems. We learned at school today a good kind of, I guess, sentence starters. I'm using my teacher brain, which are basically examples of how to start the conversation. I feel really overwhelmed when you're constantly taking leave. I need you to let me know in advance when you're not going to be here because we have projects we need to get done. And I need to know that it's not all falling on my shoulders. Or I need you to get them done before you go on leave because I have my own work to do. Speaking up for yourself and really discussing, hey, this is too much for me. Advocate for yourself and let people know that, let them know that you're not okay. It's it's okay not to be okay. And I laugh when I say that just because of how popular that phrase is becoming, but it's also very valuable. It is okay to be stressed and it's okay to be overwhelmed and to experience burnout. I'm not saying this is like some horrible condition that you can't be dealing with, but we don't want you to deal with it. We want you to do something about it because it's not something that you have to be dealing with forever. This isn't some chronic thing that will never go away. We can make this better. Another thing is maybe exploring less stressful positions. Maybe if you are, I'm going to use the teacher world, for example. If you're a classroom teacher and that's just too hard, it's a lot to manage all these kids. Maybe you actually work better with adults. Maybe you want to find a position in the school community that doesn't necessarily just work with the kids. Maybe you could be like a community liaison where you work with the parents instead, and you work with the teachers to help build rapport with the teachers and the parents. Maybe find a different way to do it because maybe you enjoy working at a school, but maybe being the classroom teacher isn't your thing. Or maybe you want to do something like my job where you work with like smaller groups of kids and you don't necessarily have your own classroom. You got to find what works for you because, you know, what works for you might not work for me and vice versa. And the things that I think are not stressful about my job might be what you think is the most stressful thing about it. Think about what's going to work best for you. And don't be afraid, again, to advocate for yourself. Hey, I've been, I'm going to make up an example. I've been a special ed teacher for 15 years. I think I want to try doing this position. I think I want to try being the wellness coach. I think I want to be a PE teacher. I mean, it doesn't just happen that fast. I am not going to pretend like you can just talk to somebody and be like, can I switch? But the conversation itself is worth having. Another thing you can do is take regular breaks, guys. Taking a break is one of the most beneficial things you can do when you are burnt out. And again, advocating for those breaks. Maybe there's coworkers that are depending on you and they're like, hey, where are you? What are you doing? But if you tell them like, look, I'm feeling really burnt out right now and I really just need you to give me about 10 minutes. I'll be back in 10 minutes and I'm going to have a snack. I'm going to go for a walk. My one coworker and I go for a walk around the school whenever we just feel like we're stuck inside for too long. And we come back inside. We feel a little bit more refreshed. I'm going to go grab a coffee. I'll be right back. I mean, take a break. Maybe even take a longer break if you need to. I took a whole week off. I did use a lot of leave, but I took a week off. Was it 2 years ago? And I went to St. Croix with my family. Not saying that that's the kind of vacation maybe you need, but don't be afraid to take a vacation. You don't have to fly anywhere. Maybe do a staycation where you just take a week off and stay at home, clean your house, or just spend time with your kids. I mean, do what you need to do. Whatever the words take a break means to you, do it. But make them regular breaks. And now I'm not telling you to do regular vacations because that's where you become like Ryan's coworkers where they don't show up. But seriously, take breaks. They are necessary. They are 100% useful, and they are just as important as the times that you're doing hard work. I tell that to my clients all the time. So a lot of these stories that I'm telling with teaching, I can 100% resonate with them when it comes to my training and nutrition clients. The fact that so many of my clients thought that by taking a rest day, they were cheating. It was just mind-blowing. They did not realize that the rest portions within their weekly plans were just as important as the leg days and the back days and the chest days. I mean, my goodness. You need your rest and you need your breaks. That's it. Another thing you can do, practice meditation and other mindfulness techniques. Take some time to ground yourself. I live by my gratitude journal. I wake up in the morning, I pause, I give myself a minute to just breathe, and I do the same thing at night and just be there. Just be in my room. I breathe, I just let my body be. And that's really the best way I can describe it. It it's like a gift that you can give to yourself of just letting your body do its thing. And it's almost like you can feel your body saying thank you back because our nervous system is on such a high all day long that, again, with the breaks, you got to just let it breathe. So, gratitude journals help me. Having a book helps me. Meditation helps. I like to do meditation laying down. I lay down, I put my hands on my stomach, I close my eyes, I have some calming music in the background. I do it for about 5 minutes. Um, that's just what works for me right now. I know some people who can meditate for like 30 plus minutes. That's amazing too. Other mindfulness activities, we actually had our students last year. Um, we had a big coloring page on the wall. And when they needed a break, they could just go over to the coloring page. We had crayons, colored pencils, and they can do some mindful coloring. I think it was called a mandala. We had that on the wall, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful to have on our wall. And I know a lot of our teachers really want to bring that back, but unfortunately they just painted our school this year, so we can't do it again because the paint has to curate for 10 months. But that's how I feel about that. But, it was so amazing. And so we'll get journals instead. And we can do some yoga activities, or we have restorative circles where we let them just kind of say what's on their mind. You got to do that too for yourself as an adult. You're responsible for yourself, you're responsible for your well being, and you are responsible for dealing with your burnout if you've got it. It's normal, and you'll be okay if you deal with it and if you take care of it. Because there are some risk factors that come with just constantly, what's the phrase? Constantly come from, oh, burning the candle at both ends. That's what I was thinking of. When you are constantly burning the candle at both ends, like I used to do a few years ago, it's so unhealthy. You become so disassociated from not just your job, but from life. That's not what we want. So we want to practice the mindfulness techniques, learn how to meditate. And here's another one: eat a healthy diet. Get those fruits and veggies in, fuel your body the way you're supposed to be, eat foods that make you feel good, and avoid the foods that don't, or have them in limited quantities. That's all I'm going to say about that. Move your body. All I'm going to say about that too. Go back to all of our other episodes if you want to hear some more tips on exercise. Moving your body, y'all know that means you got 10 minutes, stretch for 10 minutes. You got 30 minutes, go for a quick power walk. Do some yoga, go for a run, swim, dance, anything. Move your body. I swear, every time you feel so good. There is just this amazing feeling that you get after you exercise that you cannot earn in any other way. Exercise is something you earn, and it is a blessing to be able to move your body. So please get plenty of exercise to take care of your physical body, especially while you are burnt out, because you got to rebuild and refill that cup, because when it's empty, it's empty. So if you are trying to exercise while you're burnt out, I'm sure you're exhausted. So you're probably thinking, I don't want to. I don't want to go do a Zumba class. I don't want to go for a run. I don't want to go do laps in a pool back and forth for 10 minutes. I don't want to do it. Oh well. Sometimes I can be really nice and compassionate. Other times I don't have time for excuses. You need to take care of yourself. If you're tired, go for a walk. If you're tired, stretch. Yes, give yourself a rest day every now and then, but not every day. Then you're not exercising. You're just in a constant state of rest. And that's also not good either, right? Got to balance. Exercise, move your body, and take care of your body, especially while you are burnt out. Practice healthy sleep habits. You will never, ever get better, especially if you have burnout, if you do not sleep. You are not giving your brain the time it needs to reset and refuel and get the wires ready for the next day if you are not sleeping right. You will also come to work and everyone's going to think you're groggy and a bitch because you have not been sleeping. And no one wants to be around that. Sometimes it's okay to come in, hey, I'm a little tired, or hey, I have a newborn, or my daughter's having some nightmares, or my son keeps getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I get it. Kids get in the way a lot too. My dogs even get in the way. Sometimes I can hear my dogs moving around, or sometimes when my dogs used to sleep in my room, Duke used to jump on the bed in the middle of the night, and that woke me up because he just jumped and moved my bed. I get it. Things happen. I've also talked about on here how I have insomnia. That also doesn't help. Sometimes literally rolling over wakes me up. Or I'm the one that has to pee. It happens. But please practice healthy sleep habits. Turn those lights off at a time that you should be going to sleep. Not when you actually fall asleep, when you should be going to sleep. Read a book instead of looking at your phone. Set a timer if you really want to look at your phone. And then when the timer goes off, throw the phone. I don't care. Stop looking at the phone. Make sure your alarm is set for the next day. And get rid of all that blue light, right? We want to be in an environment that's cool. And I don't mean cool like, oh, that's cool, dude. I mean like temperature. The temperature is cool and it's dark and it's calming. I mean, maybe you have some like white noise in the background, like a fan. Get yourself ready for sleep because that is absolutely crucial. If you are exhausted throughout the day, you need to let your body sleep. And then I think I kind of already touched on this, but another thing on here says take a vacation. Take a vacation if you can, but don't be like those coworkers who are gone all day like Ryan's. But seriously, guys, these are really, 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 really important because unfortunately, if you don't, there's a lot of really shitty things that can happen if you don't take care of your job or if you don't take care of yourself while you're working. A lot of employees say that they don't have time to do their work and that they would be 70% less likely to experience burnout if they had more time. Now, listen here, okay? Wouldn't we all love more time? We played Would You Rather the other day, and one of the things was like, would you rather be able to go back in time or pause time? I mean, I think I'd rather pause time because I want to get more things done. But we can't do that. So we need to practice management and communication and taking care of our bodies so that we are living a healthy life and not constantly feeling chronic stress. I know there's a lot of things that happen at work that cause this, like the lack of communication, the time pressures, the maybe role clarity. Are you supposed to do this or me? Unmanageable workloads. You're giving me so much to do. I have so many kids that for me, sometimes I'm like, I have so many IEPs to write, but then this kid's running down the hallway and this kid's crying and this kid's crying and this teacher's pissed. I mean, I get it. Or unfair treatment. Maybe one coworker feels like they're getting the short end of the stick, but their boss is always so happy and kind to the other one. So they're like, well, why would I try extra hard? Because he clearly likes him more than he likes me. I get it. There's a lot of reasons that burnout happens, and you don't need to be perfect. You just need to try your best. Another thing too can just be that you've got a lot going on outside of work too. You know, when you have a rough work day and you come home, it sucks when you come home and maybe you have to care for your family members now. Maybe you have to care for your sick dog, or maybe you've got older elderly parents, or maybe you have to feed the kids. I mean, maybe you also just now you have a second job. Been there, done that, where I went from job to grad school. I mean, my goodness, it sucks. But you got to make sure that you guys are recognizing these symptoms. You're recognizing what's going on, and that you provide yourself the patience and the grace to take it one day at a time, and then the strength to do something about it. This is where I will be a little bit more kind. Stress is no joke. Stress can do a lot of harmful things to us. And I mean, I'm just thinking back to a time in my life where I know that stress was the ruler of my life. And it makes me upset because I really feel like during that time of my life, I was so desperate for healthier solutions, and I was so desperate for someone to just see me and be like, "Hey, I can take the load off of you. Hey, I can help you." But really, the only person I needed was myself. And I know we hear things like that all the time, but it's true. I just needed to look in the mirror and be like, "Julie, this is too much," and stop, or advocate for myself and take it one step at a time. We put too much pressure on ourselves sometimes. I wanted all of these things to happen. I wanted to go to grad school before I had kids, and I wanted to work two jobs because I wanted more money, and I wanted to pursue both careers because I couldn't pick one. And not to say that any of that was bad. I am so proud of the fact that I have my master's, and I have no regrets working two jobs because besides the burnout, I genuinely loved both of them. I really did. And there were many days that I would talk to myself and say, how damn lucky are you that you get to work and do both things that you love? Because no matter if I work at a gym or not, I will always have a passion for health and fitness. And that's why I started this podcast, because I wanted to find a way that I could help more people than I could at the gym. So I get it. But we can't let it win. That stress caused weight gain for me. It caused extra anxiety. I even had some depression. High blood pressure, the higher risk of cardiovascular diseases, the list goes on and on when you don't take care of yourself. So please take this episode and use it to help you. Take these tools, write them down, and think to yourself, what is actually going on? Is it a coworker? Is it too much at home? Is it something that I could be saying more clearly? Is it something that I can start doing because it's bothering me that I'm not? Think about it. I suggest you write it down, and then you come up with a couple tips that if you were talking to yourself or if you were talking to me, what do you think I would say to you? What would I tell you to do? What did you hear in this episode that you can use to help you get out of this? No one wants to feel burnt out. Anxiety is normal, stress is normal, burnout is normal, but we don't want to live in a world where that is the main thing we're doing. So what I'm going to do is, my goal is to just take this year, quite frankly, one day at a time. I've got a lot to think about. I've got a lot of kids who need me. And honestly, what an honor it is to be able to say that. I get to help all of these kids, and we get to change some lives. I met one student today and I was pretty nervous to meet them because I had heard some things like, oh, this happens and they do this and they do that. But all I could do was smile when I saw them because, yes, I saw all those things that all those people said. But how cool is it that I get to work with them? How cool is it that they're going to help me grow too? Yeah, I'm going to come home some days and be tired. And yes, I'm going to have some days that are stressful. But I also am going to take care of Julie. I'm going to set some clear boundaries where, either people can call me or can't call me before and after certain hours. I'm going to not check my email before and after certain hours. And when I'm not working with that person or with that child, I am not going to think about them, or I'm going to let it go. Or I'm going to allow myself to vent when I need to. Genuinely put into practice the things that will help you. If you need me, my inbox is always, always, always a safe place. It's always open, whether you want more tips, more strategies, or you just want to talk about what you're going through. Again, I am not a licensed doctor, psychologist, therapist. I am a teacher. I'm a personal trainer and a nutrition coach, and I'm your friend, just here having a conversation with you to let you know that you're not alone, and reading to you some of the research that I have found, because it is true and we are in this together. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.